Hey, it's Nicole again. I'm back. More of the 50 ways to mess up your startup. Hope that you're taking notes. Hope these have been really helpful to you. I want to talk about a couple of them. Now, this one, I'm starting with 19 today, so there's 2 previous videos and posts, so go back and read those if you hadn't have a chance. But 19 relates to the last one from last time, and that is talking about entrepreneurs who've turned into investors who are mentoring and coaching. Just remember what I tell every entrepreneur. Raising money is the negotiation of a lifetime. You might do it once, you might do it twice, you might do it 3 times, but really it is not something that is done all the time. But the other side, the investors, are doing it all the time. So make sure you have that perspective of how the game is really played, how to negotiate the best deal and terms for you and your team, and not assume that you're just going to get those terms. You have to really fight for everything that will be of benefit to the entrepreneur side of the deal. So make sure you're ready to negotiate. So 20 is really operational. Don't forget, it is harder to make money than to spend money. And I was consulting for a friend of mine who was a technical co-founder of a company, and he brought in a business guy, if you will, really a sales guy. And that guy, and he put in a big investment, this sales guy, but he knew how to spend money. So he bought leather couches for the front entrance and blah, 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 blah. But he didn't really have any skills in raising money, and he'd made money in previous deals, but this was very sophisticated technology. And so he spent a lot of time on the spending. Don't spend more than you need to. Spend time on the making, getting to the product, getting to minimal viable product, getting customer feedback, right? Yes, if you're going to raise money, it will take time, whether that's a grant funding or if it's from investors, but spend your time on that stuff, not on spending money. All right, 21st way to mess up your startup. Remember I said I was really going to try and get to 25 and I got to 50 really fast. So this is 21, and it is forget to track your metrics. Metrics aren't very sexy sometimes, and for a while they're kind of depressing because not much is happening. But you need to have early on in place, the metrics that are telling you how your business is doing. And even if you're just doing lead generation website, right, or an email list or what, you need to track every piece of that process, every part of your sales cycle, your metrics around your development process, whatever it is that is driving your business, or many of these. Track them, understand them, know them early, because many businesses fail because they, for example, they don't know that their cash flow is negative. They don't know how to finance that, and all of a sudden they have a crisis. So don't let that be you. So 22nd way to mess up your startup is to get costs way ahead of where they can be sustainable. So that could be either ahead of raising money or it can be ahead of revenue. It is hard to work for a young, fast-growing company when there's never enough resources because you're always behind the curve. As an employee, that's really demanding. But the flip side is, if there's a retrenchment in some way, if there's a slowdown in some way, the company does not get ahead of itself and get really bloated. It's easy, and a lot of companies do that, right? Don't buy the Herman Miller chair, and don't buy too many people and too many specialized people and all that stuff, right? Keep to the core. So when I was closing our first round of funding for DoBox, I had a great attorney, a venture attorney. He was very experienced. And I read every page of the deal docs, and I would call him up and I would ask him questions. And he said, Nicole, I think you're the only entrepreneur I know who has read every page of a contract or a deal. And I said, well, am I responsible for the contents of these documents? And he said, yes. And I said that I'm going to read them before I signed them. And he said, you have got to be the best run startup I know. He said, I have clients who won't even take time to sign documents to do a deal because they're on their way to Hawaii. He said, this is great. And it stood us in good stead when we went to sell our business. We sent them literally, we printed out 2 feet of documents. Today you'd do it online, but at the time we had to print them all out and FedEx all these documents. They came back with 4 or 5 questions. And they were really simple. They were we just answered them off the top of our head. We didn't have to look anything up. So having done that work early totally paid off when the opportunity came to sell the business. Now, at the same time, I knew a company that the CEO was like, oh, we don't need to do board minutes or or anything about the board. We'll just do that later. But later, the board had a huge falling out. I mean, legal action falling out. And I thought to myself, wonder how he's going to get, any kind of signatures in any of those decisions, quote unquote, that the board made, since he didn't do it in real time. So do it in real time. 24 makes me sad. One way to mess up your startup is to give a marketing partner a right of first refusal to buy your business. Now, you find a big channel partner, they're going to OEM your product, put their name on it or whatever, and they say, well, we don't want you to get sold to our big competitor and then yank this product out from underneath us. So we want a right of first refusal. If someone agrees to buy you, we can buy it for the same price. Fatal. Fatal, fatal, fatal. You will never raise money if you make that mistake, even though it sounds completely rational and sounds like a little thing. And here's why. If you do that, then someone who's a potential acquirer will say, well, if I do all the due diligence and decide to buy this business and my price is a good price, then the marketing partner, who knows more than I do, will undercut me, use the right of first refusal, and I've done all this due diligence for no reason. And because of that, there will never be a bidding war for your business. There'll never be more than one business, big acquirer who's interested in your business. And so investors will not invest. And I'm serious about that. I've seen multiple companies, multiple entrepreneurs have this happen to them thinking, oh, it's not a big deal. It is a huge deal. Please do not do it. Okay. So the 25th way you mess up your startup is to not validate that anybody cares. I had a great focus group leader who I adored, and I was telling her about some product when I was a product manager. She was like, Nicole, nobody cares but you, right? The customers care about them. They care about what they need. And if your product meets those needs and makes them happy, then they'll buy it. And so remember, nobody cares but you. Make sure somebody else cares. Or as I like to say, do the dogs want to eat the dog food, right? Is it tasty? And you've got to talk to people. Now, one thing I hear entrepreneurs tell me is, well, I'm afraid somebody's going to steal my idea. Do you know what? Every opportunity out there is built on what's come before, and you are not the only person with the insight. I don't care how good you are. I always tell people that I coach, assume that there are 4 or 5 other teams out there as smart as you, as far along as you, with essentially the same idea. And if you don't believe me, there's a book in Venture Wrench. You can look under Venture Capital, look under, just pick books on the left menu. And it's called Once You're Lucky, Twice You're Good. And it's the story of the earliest days of social media, of Flickster and MySpace and YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And it is stunning. Like, all of this shows up at the same time. And you know what? That is repeated over and over. And if you ask VCs, they'll tell you that. Oh, yeah, we see 4, 5, 6 deals. Same concept. They all appear at once. Okay, so just get past the idea that someone's going to steal your idea. Just get past it. VCs may steal your insights if they are already investing or talking to somebody else, but they won't steal your idea because somebody else already has it. So don't get wrapped around the axle there. Talk to people, talk to customers, show them something that represents, some people call it the minimum viable product, but a wireframe, a picture, something that they can get a feel for what value are you going to deliver to them, and then get honest feedback. Do they care? Do they care? Do the dogs want to eat the dog food? The 26th way today to mess up your startup is to ignore the best practices in your industry. So for example, if you're a tech startup, there's a whole bunch of buzz around lean startup and business model canvas and minimum viable product and stuff like that, okay? You just have to be prepared that investors, that's what they want to see. Whether you believe it helps your business or not is not really that relevant. If you're going to raise money, that's kind of the standard expectation. And different industries have different expectations about what investors want to see or partners want to see. So make sure you understand what that is and then deliver that. So way to mess up 27 is to try and scale before you're ready. And this is heartbreaking. If you aren't ready to scale and you drive demand, then people have a terrible experience and they walk away from you, right? Either your quality's poor or it's not a responsive system or the software's buggy or whatever it is. And you just sometimes see teams that have somebody really into marketing and sales, and they just start pushing right away before the product and the service and the infrastructure and the support are ready. So get everything in place and then try and scale, try and go for growth. And that includes understanding your metrics, right? Is one sale profitable? You do see businesses who say, well, we'll make it up in volume even though we lose money on every one. Well, unless you really are driving down a serious cost curve, and many businesses are not. They think they're going to, but they really aren't. Unless you're driving down a serious cost curve, if you're not profitable with 10, you're not going to be profitable with 10 million. So don't make that mistake. So 28 today. 28th way to mess up your startup is to forget that there's regulations. I'm not going to name names, but there was a company not too long ago that was kind of a darling in the HR space. And apparently nobody remembered that there are actually regulations around employees and documentation and stuff like that. And they just didn't do it. Even though they were hot and people were excited about them, they just didn't do what needed to be done. So make sure that you understand the regulations that apply to your business, and that's down to having a business license in your little dinky town wherever you live, right? You better have a business license, even if it's in your home. Get a home business license. Follow the rules, right? Do not run a welding shop in your backyard in a suburban neighborhood. It's not going to go well, right? But again, there's federal, if you're doing healthcare, if you're doing education, right? There's just a ton of regulations, even down to the new GDPR that the Europeans have promulgated around privacy and data protection. You gotta be on it, otherwise there's potentially serious consequences. So that's this round of 50 ways to mess up your startup. Hopefully they're helpful to you. See you next time.